Welcome to the Purple Mash for Parents webinars. In this webinar, we're going to look at how you can get your children writing and storytelling using the tools and resources in Purple Mash. The first thing I'm going to do is click on this English topics button at the bottom left here, which will take you to all of the English tools, spelling, punctuation and grammar resources, writing genres and themes, and some further printable resources down the bottom of the screen. I'm going to focus specifically on this area here, the writing genres and themes. The first thing I'm going to do is click on this planning and drafting section. Now at the bottom, there are printable writing frames here for different kinds of writing, such as story writing or debating or writing a diary entry or, for example, creating a comic book template. If I click on the newspaper template here, it will open up in a separate tab and I can print that off and your children can plan their newspaper report offline before they start writing it in one of the Purple Mash tools. Let's come out of the writing frames now and go back to the planning and drafting section. This particular tool here called ToConnect is a brilliant tool for your children to use to plan their story. Here is an example of a story planning template. Your children can then add details to this to plan their story out. I'm going to click on this green node in the middle here, click on the edit pencil and give it a title for my story. I can also add a picture here and I can write in my main characters. Let's plan out where this particular story is going to take place. So here is the plan of my haunted house narrative. I've written in the problem, the solution, the main characters, and where it takes place. This particular tool is a brilliant one to get your children planning their writing before they actually start the writing. There are other templates as well as a story planner. There's a recount, a character description, a template for a persuasive argument, and an argument, and also writing about a visit that you've been on. You can also use a blank template to create your own. Let's come out of there and go back to the planning and drafting section. Another way for your children to plan their stories is to use one of these storyboard frames. There's a 3-frame, 4-frame or a 6-frame storyboard. I'm going to choose the 3-frame storyboard. I can write my story title at the top here, and when I'm ready to start writing, I can add my plan at the bottom here, and I can plan out my story by adding images in here by clicking on this green upload button. And if I've drawn some pictures, for example, of Little Red Riding Hood, and I've saved them in the My Work folder, I could add them from here. Or I can use the clip art items at the top right here. There are hundreds of pre-made clip art icons in here. I'm going to go into the characters and select Little Red Riding Hood and drag and drop her and position her into my first image box there. I can begin the planning of my story here in the section underneath. So there you go, I've written the first part of my story. Now in the second section here, I'm actually going to draw a forest. So I'm going to use my coloured pens on the left-hand side and draw myself a forest. Now I'm going to add a wolf into my forest. I'm going to go back to my clip art and see if I can find my wolf character. There he is. And I'm going to continue my story. So there we go. I have added most of the detail for my story plan. In fact, it's gone a little bit further than a story plan. It's actually almost an entire recount of Little Red Riding Hood. I'm going to save that using my drop-down menu and save it in my work folder. Now, if your child's class teacher has created a display board, you can use the drop-down menu and share it to that display board so that your child's classmates can see that work also. I'm going to click on this share option and add it to the Year 2 display board. Once a class teacher has approved that work, it will be visible by all the children in Year 2. Let's come out of this and go back to the English section here. So far we have looked at the planning and drafting section. There are lots of other resources for different kinds of writing, such as diary writing, writing information texts, instruction writing such as recipes, writing letters, how to write persuasive writing, poetry, etc. I'm going to scroll across here to the storytelling section. And in here, there are dozens of pre-made writing projects that your children can use to write a story of a traditional tale, for example. In the middle here, there are some story settings which might get your children started on some creative writing. Then you have some writing about aliens. You can explore some famous authors, such as this one here on Roald Dahl, which is a selection of activities and writing templates that your children can use based on Roald Dahl's books. Let's go back to the storytelling section. And down to the paint projects, younger children could draw some pictures from stories that they know very well. They can also become one of the characters using these mash cams at the bottom here. I'm going to select the Little Red Riding Hood one. You can use the built-in camera on your device to take a photograph of yourself, and you can then become Little Red Riding Hood. Your children can then write about their experience pretending to be Little Red Riding Hood. These Mashcams are excellent tools to help your children to explore the characters of the stories that they're studying. You can also use the built-in microphone on your device here to record the children's voice telling the story from the point of view of the character. I am Little Red Riding Hood. I'm going to visit my grandmother on the other side of the forest. I hope I won't meet any big bad wolves on the way. That would be terrible. They might want to eat me up. And I could then play that here using the play button. For younger children, they could record their voice telling the story from Little Red's perspective. Then you as parent could act as scribe and type it in here in the speech bubble. At the top here, there are some brilliant writing projects that your children can use as a starting point for writing a letter, for example, or retelling the story. They could even do some missing posters for the gingerbread man. If I click on this green plus here, it will take me to some of the images I already have in here. Zoom into it, and there is the gingerbread man. I'm going to write my wanted poster by clicking in the text box at the bottom here, and I can also use some of the prompts for the writing on the left-hand side. Let's add the word missing very clearly at the top of my story, and I can use my text editor here to move that to the middle, change the font size, and even change the font type. If I use the other thing about the word bank options on the left-hand side here, it will pop in some sentence starters, ready for me to begin my writing. So there we have my missing poster, including all the information and his reward for his return. If I want to use my clip art on the right hand side, I can add that in as well to my story. Perfect. Let's save that and share that to the display board. I'm sharing it to that same Year 2 display board so my classmates can see that. Let's come out of the storytelling area and go back into the English topic area. There are further resources down here based on different kinds of topics that your children might be exploring in school, such as myths and legends. If I go into there, they could, for example, design a postcard pretending they're a knight and writing to a friend. There are dozens of these pre-made postcards across the different topic areas throughout Purple Mash. If you flip them round, you can see a pre-made image already in there for you. If you want to change that image, you can click on the green plus and select one of the many images already there for you. If I click on that castle there, for example, I can then flip it round and start my writing. These options on the left and the right hand side will give me some ideas of what to write about. So here's my postcard I've written to my grandma. I've added an address there, and if you want to, you can click on this writer's checklist box at the top here, which will give your children an idea of what the class teacher would be looking for when the children are writing on this postcard. So I'm back on the English topic page now, and I'm going to have a look at some of these English tools at the top here. These tools can also be found from the home page in the tools area. I'm now going to look at these two tools here, 2Publish and 2Publish Plus. 2Publish and 2Publish Plus are a selection of blank writing templates that you can upload your own images into or use the pre-made clip art images to create your own stories. I'm going to use this page border template to illustrate a poem that I've written. In the magnifying glass here, I can either draw an image, which will then appear as the border on my story, or I can use this green plus here to select an image either from the clip art options, or I can choose a picture that I've created earlier by using this Choose File button. Here is a picture of a mini beast that I created in one of the paint projects. And I'm going to write a poem about a mini beast. So there is my mini beast poem, all about Marvin the mini beast. If I go back to the tools and into 2Publish Plus, these are some templates that your older children might want to use to get writing. They can, for example, write their own newspaper of a local event. They can design their own comic books, or perhaps use the blank diary template here to write a daily or weekly diary. Here is an example that my daughter has created using images of herself. You can add as many pages as you like into your diary by clicking this Add Page button, and you can upload images from your own computer by clicking on this green Upload button. Go to my PC and select an image which will pop into that image box, and she can start writing at the bottom. You can move the text box down and increase or decrease the size of the photo. Another idea is to use the blank sketchbook. This is a brilliant tool that your children can upload images of their artwork into. Here again is an example that my daughter has made using photographs of the art she's created. With the sketchbook template, you can upload images into this section here by clicking on the upload button, and you can also write a sticky note and position that and resize it to whatever size you want to onto the page. I'm going to go back now to the Tools tab. This time I'm going to select this tool here called To Create a Story. If your children are in nursery or reception, I would suggest using this version here called My Simple Story. I'm going to select this one here, My Story. This tool is an animation ebook making program where I can draw a picture at the top, write about my day, choose some animations and add some sounds. First of all, I'm going to choose a background here, and I could either draw my background or take a photograph and put that in my background, or I can use the clip art option up here to select one of our pre-made background images. I'm going to choose this one here, which is a picture of a park, and click OK. And I can draw me going for a walk in the park. This is brilliant if you have an iPad or a tablet where the children can draw using their fingers, using the pens down the left-hand side. So there's me going for a walk in the park, and I can write about my day at the bottom here. Now, your younger children might need a little bit of help with the writing. You could always act as the scribe, and they could tell you about their day and you could type it in for them. I'm now going to animate the picture of me walking in the park by clicking on this button at the top here called Animation. And I get to preview which of these animations I'd like to use. Let's have a look at the options. Let's select this one here. I can also add sounds to it by clicking on the sound option at the top here. I can use the drop-down list to select other different sounds. So here is a sound of summer. Let's have a listen to that. Perfect. Let's select that one for my story. Another option you can have using the sound feature is to record the children speaking about their day. Today I went for a walk in the park. It was a lovely sunny day. And I click done. If I press the play button at the top, today I went for a walk in the park. It was a lovely sunny day. You can see my story will animate and my sound will play as well. Let's save that into my folder, give it a file name and click save. Now again, if your child wants to share that with their friends, they can use the drop down menu, click the share option and share it to the class display board by selecting the display board they want to share it to. So let's have a look now at how that work will appear on that display board once a class teacher has approved it. I'm going to go to my sharing tab at the top here, click on that, go to the Year 2 display board where I sent those pieces of work, and there they both are. The one I created using the diary template and the one I created using To Create a Story. I'm back in the tools area now. I'm going to look at another tool that you could use with your children to get them writing about things they're interested in. Here in the tools area under communication and sharing is the To Blog tool. They can write a blog about anything they are particularly interested in. I'm going to create a blog about my favorite sports and give it a description. I can change the icon image here at the top of the blog and change the cover banner. If I save that, I can now click on the View Blog option and it will take me to my blog that I'm ready to post work into. I can then click on this green plus at the top here to add a post into my blog. I can write in the body of the blog, and I can also add images or work that I have created and saved into my own folder. Let's add, for example, this Marvin the Mini Beast poem that I wrote in To Publish. I can also add some images from my clip art. Let's find a football and an Arsenal player. And I can save that. Now, because this blog has been created by a pupil, the only person that can see this blog is that pupil themselves and the class teacher. The teacher can choose to make this blog available for the entire class to see, but by default, as you can see on the teacher's version of this blog, the only child that can see and comment and post onto this blog is that one child that created it. Another way that your child can share their work to their blog is from within the work itself. If I click on the drop-down menu here and go to the share button, just as we shared to a display board before, I'm going to this time blog about it and send this postcard to my blog. There is my private blog that I've created, the sports blog, and I can give it a title, a summary, and write in the body of the text. So there we go. I've written my blog post and I'm going to click the save button and that will now be added to my blog. So in this video, we've looked at lots of the tools and resources in Purple Mash that can support your children in getting them writing and storytelling. There are lots of amazing pre-made resources as well as their own ones that they can get creative with and share with their friends.